Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
There's nothing predictable in farming. Until now. Pivot BioProven 40 microbial nitrogen doesn't leach, denitrify, or volatilize like synthetic nitrogen. And Proven 40 stays with the corn plant throughout critical growth stages. Start with Pivot BioProven 40 as the predictable foundation of your nitrogen management plan. Contact your Pivot Bio sales rep today to get the lowest prices of the season. Visit pivotbio.com. That's pivotbio.com.
Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
Mahomes out of the gun. He's got it, wants to throw. Mahomes back, throws. It is incomplete. Picked off by the Lions. Brian Branch with it left side. He's going, baby. He's going to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
It's unusual for us to drop that many passes anywhere, anytime. So go back and work on that. But you got to take care of business, and these guys know that. It's extremely physical. Defense is highly impressive. They lost some guys in the NFL, but they're still well coached. Physical defense has very impressive quarterback with his play. Ran the ball a little bit better than maybe anticipated.
Hayes is a team that the last few seasons they've had a really good defense, relied heavily on the run game, and this team is no different, and that will be the keys of the game. Can we slow down Malik Ball, because he's who makes that team go.
First, I want to see how many receivers are on each side, or if they have a tight end or an H-back, just to see where I want to set up or what coverage we want to be in, and then depending on how far the receiver's out, that changes my positioning and how much further I go out. We saw a 4-man front last week, and we see it again this week, so I think we should do a good job against that. My first one was a 4-4, and they're a 4-3, so a little adjustment, but I think we'll be able to handle their front.
I thought they were a tough, hard-nosed team last year, and obviously, they returned a lot of guys, and so they pick up where they were last year, and they just got a nice blend of athleticism. They got some toughness to them. The coach does a good job with them. But it's going to be a tall task for us.
I think in the recent history is you go to Lions and you think you're going to win. Well, after losing by 36 points, I don't think Larned can go in anywhere and think they're going to win. They got to go out and play football.
Oh, and welcome into the Friday edition of Sports Day here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Filling in for the irreplaceable Steve Webster in the host chair today. I am Aaron Clark, joined by Mike and Mike across from me. Mike Corson, how you doing?
It's Friday.
That it is. And Mike Hesher. We've got our little maze of paper back in front of us now. I can't hardly see you over there.
Friday is the best day of the week, especially during football season when the boss man isn't here.
And especially for you today, a special little treat. You get to call a football game tonight, as you will be the sub-in for Cole Reif on tonight's Hoisington Cardinals broadcast.
That is correct. Cole is out of town, and it's going to be a real interesting because it's going to be a first-time color analyst, Gene Manueller, because Perry is, what's his first name? Jason Perry is unable to be there with Cole, so it's going to be the C team really showing up for this one.
Well, we can get into that a little more as we had a clip from the Hoisington Cardinals coach, but first we're going to go through our sounds of the past 24 hours, but not before giving you a look at today's show, as we'll have Sunflower Sports Solutions' Connor Nichols, the S3 owner and founder, will run down all the Friday night matchups, including the big matchup tonight, Great Bend at Hayes. He'll also have a look at this week in high school volleyball. He'll also get to hear from Tony Crow, as I'll get to have a conversation with my old coach. But first, we'll get into these sounds of the past 24 hours. The first one you heard, play-by-play from last night's Chiefs game against the Detroit Lions. It was the pass to Kadarius Toney that bounced right off his hands and somehow ended up going for 6 points the other way.
So this is one of those stats that I think I'd heard before the game. Mahomes has never thrown a pick in an opener, and technically he if you put it on target and it's not your fault, it should not go on your stats as a negative. But it was a big play in the game. Obviously, you get a game that's close, and you have points going the other way on defense. It's huge. And the other big one was early in the game. Who fakes a punt? Somebody who needs to beat the Chiefs.
I was gonna say that it ended up paying dividends for the Lions. It was a bold move. It was in their own territory, and they faked punt in, I think it was the first quarter.
It was the first drive of the game, and it was like inside the 20. It might have been the second drive. I think it was the first drive.
I thought it was the second.
It might have been the second drive, but it was still like, are you kidding me?
And it was Dan Campbell just not being afraid to be who he is. There's been some pushback against being a little more aggressive, maybe at times, like going for a fake punt in your own territory, going for it on fourth down. I saw a really interesting take. The Chiefs chose to kick a field goal on 4th and 2 twice in the second half, and then they had to try and convert a 4th and 25 to extend the game and win the game. I think it's a really interesting point. Would you rather try and convert a 4th and 2? Because even if they don't get that 4th and 2 instead of the field goal, they're in the same spot at the end of the game. You still need a touchdown to win, and instead you got 2 field goals but still end up coming out a point short, as you then heard Andy Reid talking about how doesn't usually have a team drop that many catches, but it's something that obviously they're going to look at on film and have to address before a tough Week 2 matchup sees the Chiefs travel to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars next Sunday.
Yeah, and maybe Jacksonville's even better than Detroit, so they better shape up quick. But as we know, social media can be pretty distasteful and mean. It was immediate last night. The artists were out with their memes, so the Tony memes are instant. It's unbelievable how fast they work.
Kadarius Toney deleted his X or Twitter, whatever they're calling it now, his X account last night after being a little vocal with some former, or I guess Giants fans. His former team had to delete the Twitter last night after a rough going for Mr. Toney.
Did he delete it, or was he trying to type something and he fumbled and hit the delete button?
Maybe it was. Maybe we'll see the return of him if he can put more of a Super Bowl performance out than what he did in Week 1 this year.
You don't think Giants fans are saying, see, this is why we got rid of him? I mean, I know he was injured, but I don't know, did he have trouble catching the ball before? I don't know.
Yeah, he's never been someone with elite hands, like never someone you think of as having incredible hands, but last night was aggressive, to say the least.
And you are paying him to do a job, but if, after the third, fourth one and he's not doing his job, that would be like hiring me to do something I can't do. There's other guys that put me in, coach. I can catch a ball. Try them out.
And not playing in the exhibition games at all, did that have something to do with it? I mean, that's,
And part of that was just injury concern, but I do wonder if the not getting the reps there, like you said, had a negative impact. We'll not dwell on the Chiefs too long. It'd be unfair to Webby to not leave him in on some of the fun of evaluating the Chiefs' first loss of the season. Still sticking sharp with that 12-5 record prediction. They're going 12-4 the rest of the season. Next up in the sounds of the past 24 hours, we heard from Coach Lance Leipold. And after winning Week 1 last week, KU is back tonight for another Friday edition of Jayhawk football as they prepare for Illinois, a team that has a lot of the KU coaches saying they're a pretty physical team. We heard that from their offensive coordinator, Andy Kudelnicki, earlier this week. Hearing it again from Lance Leipold now. I'm looking forward to a kind of a measuring stick game for KU. See if they're actually legitimate or if they were just whooping up on a FCS Missouri State team last week.
It will be the first test, and you and I will both be at Hayes. Don't you dare text me any spoilers. I'm looking forward to watching Great Bend Hayes and then getting home and watching some late-night DVR'd KU football.
Oh, man. I was actually thinking earlier today I might have to give, like, an update on the radio, like, in a little break. Fine. So just I'll make sure to give you a fair warning that an update on the KU score that you can turn off if you're doing the old Mike course and watching 2 games pulling overtime tonight to get in the film.
Well, it is always nice when our local schools get on national TV instead of ESPN Plus, so not going to waste the opportunity to catch them.
Got to take advantage of it where you can. Next, you heard from head coach of the Great Bend High Panthers, Aaron Beck, following a 29-16 win over McPherson last week. It's a big week for the Panthers as they go on the road, not only to open WAC play, but against the biggest rival in the conference, I'd say, in Hayes. Heard Coach Beck say that they're going to have to try to shut down Malik Baugh, very, very interested in watching young Mr. Baugh tonight. I don't even have to say this week anymore. The night's finally here. 40 carries last week, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was talking to Coach Crow a little bit earlier this week and just said not necessarily the way they thought the game would go, but if it rolls that way, it rolls that way. Panthers, Coach Beck knows, going to have to try to stop an elite running back tonight.
Can we say we're anticipating a great Baugh game?
But might not be a great Baugh game for him because the Panther defense going to be rolling there, as you heard from Panther safety Ian Premer. And I guess not just Panther safety. He does it all as he opened up the Panther season with a 45-yard touchdown reception last week in their first game. Also secured an interception. I really liked what Ian had to say about the process of being a safety there and what their alignment does to what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and I'm just going back to Baugh real quick. Obviously, the game plan is going to be to stop him. I got to talk to Coach Crow before the season for Catch It Kansas work, and he says he's been around a lot of running backs, even some that have gone to the NFL down from the Texas when his days down there, and Baugh's right up there with him. So the kicker is he doesn't have a whole lot of returning experience around. I'm hoping Great Bend can capitalize on that and get through the front line to get to the guy in the back. And you don't want to let him out.
I will say there's not a lot of returning on Hayes. They lost 12 all WAC players. It's going to be a tough burden, but they do still have some experience up on that offensive line. They have a center, Henry Fitzum. He was all WAC, second team last year. And Hayes, they've got some big boys up front on their offensive line. Looking forward to seeing what the Panthers can do against the Hayes High rushing attack tonight. We also heard from Hoisington head coach Zach Baird, who's gonna have a good stout matchup against the Halstead Dragons tonight. So on the call, going to be good old Mike Hesher gracing the airwaves for Hoisington fans tonight. Said you talked to the head coach for Halstead earlier this week. What can we expect to see in the clash of the Cardinals and Dragons?
It's going to be interesting because these two teams are pretty much similar in one regard because they both have veteran teams back. The thing I think for Halstead is over the summer they had a 2-quarterback system last year, and they moved Braxton Creed to the quarterback full-time so they could get Tucker Devine, who alternated last year as a quarterback. He is now a wingback or flanker, so they got some more athleticism athletes on the field all the time. So it'll be interesting to see, but he did say Hoisington is powerful and they will push you around, and they're tough. That's kind of what he said.
It sounds like kind of like the same thing that head coach for the Cardinals, Zach Baird, was saying. Just a lot of respect both ways. That it's going to be a dogfight between some seasoned players.
It will be a dogfight, and Hoisington is ranked third now in the K-Preps poll, and Halstead is receiving votes. But Hoisington has owned them the last 3 games, so we'll see. They shut them out last year 28-0, so we'll see. This is on the road, and that's always a different story.
I finally saw some stats for Tony Moore Sr. yesterday.
Yes, Tony
some
Moore
nice
Sr.
passing yards for a Hoisington team, so that's kind of exciting to add that to the game because their running game is always sensational.
Oh, he was 6 out of 7 last week. It was the thing about Halstead. You guys will understand this balance. Last week, 245 yards rushing, 249 yards passing. So that's pretty balanced.
No, can't ask for much more balance than that. I did see an interesting stat for Hoisington from our resident Cardinal expert who isn't in today, Cole Reif. Was the first time in the Zach Baird tenure that Hoisington passed for more yards than they ran. So that is a 10-year span. That stat courtesy of Cole Reif.
Of course, it helped that Jason Robinson had 2 catches for like 114 yards.
I thought it was funny that they only needed 7 passes to do that, like you pointed out. And then our final sound of the past 24 hours, you heard from a voice of the Larned Indians, Gary Wagner, as he says that in the years past, maybe Lions wasn't the most competitive. Larned might think they have an easy win in their back pocket, but Wagner saying that Larned needs to make sure they're staying focused as they travel to Lions this year.
Yeah, and I covered Lions, and they had maybe a touch of a rebound year, but it's just been hard times for the Lions football team for a while. So we don't know quite how good Pratt is. I don't know how much you can put on that first game against Larned. So I wouldn't discount Larned just because they got beat up by Pratt, because I think Pratt was supposed to be pretty decent this year.
Absolutely. I believe Pratt was supposed to be pretty good this year as well.
Yeah, and Lawrence been not very good for several years, so it's kind of like they can't overlook anybody. I don't even know where that came up from. So,
And just giving you a brief look at some of the other football games in the area tonight. Ellenwood versus Douglas, as Ellenwood tries to go 2-0 for the first time since 1998. Of course, and I see you got a little tidbit over there.
No tidbit, just it's interesting because talk about another area team that has struggled for so long. They came out and thumped, Syracuse, was it?
Yep, Syracuse.
In week 1, and once again, we don't know what Syracuse is, but so this will be a big test. And I heard you this morning saying they lost a nice class of athletes, state runner-up or state champ in the sprint. So but this group has been around, so it'd be nice to see them. I was there when the little Duval came up, when he came up from Texas, and he was a game changer. And since then, they've been struggling. So it's nice to see. It'd be great to see a 2-0 start.
Absolutely. And some of the other 11-man games I'm looking forward to tonight. Russell, look at 1-0, traveling to Plainville, 0-1. Also looking forward to seeing what TMP can do at Ellis. Just always interested in seeing what TMP has in store. And then some of the 8-man games in the area. Central Plains, after a big week last week, a tall task ahead of them as they travel to Maxville tonight. Also 1-0. And then Stafford takes their 1-0 record to Skyline. Just to wrap up all the 8-man games that caught some of my attention, just a brief rundown of some sports headlines this Friday. As Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, new highest paid player in NFL history after he agreed to a 5-year, $275 million contract extension last night, conveniently announced right around the kickoff of the Chiefs' opening game against Detroit. I thought the timing was kind of funny on it personally. However, the deal does include more than $219 million guaranteed, and Burrow will be paid on average of $55 million a year.
Is that it?
That's it for the LSU former LSU Tiger.
He was just in another press conference, and his Joe Cool moniker is so true. Just the guy doesn't rattle, so he's never been a Cincinnati fan, but admittedly, it is fun to watch Joe Burrow.
All right, that is going to wrap up our headlines of the past 24 hours. Just the one there, as we will continue on with our broadcast. Stick around for more Sports Day coming up right after this.
Marmy Auto Group makes it happen. Central and Western Kansas. Check out our selection of new and pre-owned inventory. Marmy's friendly staff offers top quality service that you've gotten to know over the years. When your existing vehicle needs parts or service, our experienced team will get you back in the game this season. Marmy Chevrolet, GMC, Ford and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep Ram, parts, service, and body shop. Visit Marmy Auto Group on 10th Street or marmys.net. Marmys, make it happen.
Barton Community College is excited to announce the expansion of the welding program with an Associate of Applied Science degree and a 2-semester certificate. With our expanded offerings, you'll gain knowledge in welding techniques, safety procedures, blueprint reading, and more. Get hands-on training from Barton faculty with industry experience, ensuring you develop the skills needed to excel in your career. Now enrolling. Learn more at welding.bartoncccc.edu.
It's Friday, and that means game day in the Golden Belt. To help us prime the pump, Sports Day brings you Sunflower Sports Solutions, Connor Nickel.
Yeah, it's sports time here. Get your high school fix. Connor Nickel, Sunflower Sports Solutions, joining us. So, Connor, how are things up there in the Great Northwest?
It has been great. It's a week two. I've said this pretty much all week, but I think in terms of all the layers involved, Great Bend Hayes High is Kansas's biggest game this Friday night.
Why do you say that, sir?
Well, a couple of reasons. There's a lot of very good matchups that's across the state, like Mays, Andover Central, a few Eastern games, Miege, Blue Valley Southwest. But those are all different classes games. You've obviously got two 5A teams. You've got a major conference matchup that I think, as do most people, that the winner of this game has just a major leg up to win WAC. You've got two on paper evenly matched teams in a lot of ways with some different strengths too. I think that Great Bend will have a significant edge at receiver and is certainly probably better at quarterback too. But Hayes High, of course, counters with Baugh in the backfield, and Hayes High's strength has been that great offensive line. Then you look on defense, I think both teams are exceptional at linebacker. Johnson and Kern for Great Bend, Myers for Hayes. You got coaching staffs who know each other really well. It's also the first time since 2016 that both Great Bend and Hayes High won their first game.
Okay, Aaron Clark made a good point because Hayes High, they're ranked 4th this week in the K-Preps poll, and they've earned that respect, certainly. It's just kind of interesting when you think of the teams and what Hayes lost last year, 9 all-WAC performers. Great Bend lost 3 all-WAC performers. So, Hayes has been good, but, they've had to replace a lot of pieces this year.
Yeah, they replaced all 11 starters on D, and major credit, defensive coordinator Kip Keeley, a guy in his family in the Golden Belt that everybody knows very, very well. He was a 2-1-A Defensive Player of the Year for lacrosse years back. 2 years ago, he led Chanute to the number 1 scoring defense in 4A. Last year, he comes on in and leads Hayes High to the top 4 scoring defense in 5A. They replaced all 11 starters. Dalton Myers, his older brother, was an amazing player, the all-time leading tackler for Hayes High. Myers steps in with 6 tackles for loss. Last year, he's 6'3", 260. Played very, very well on both sides. They've got some pieces in place, and as Coach Crow told me this week, we have players, Myers, Salmons, who have older brothers who have excelled for us, or players who've been in this program for a long time. Granted, they are still very young on D. And a note that I kind of pointed out this week too. Since the beginning of last season, Hayes High is plus 20 in turnover margin. I believe Great Bend is plus 2 or plus 3 in that stretch. And Tony said, if Coach Crow said, if we don't have those turnovers last week, we may not win. And I think that turnover margin is going to be huge. Hayes High's strength is that offensive line. I mean, they've got some really big bodies. Center guard and guard are both. They're all returning starters. And Hayes High wants to give it to Baugh a lot. I think that, honestly, Malik Baugh may be a top 10 player all classes in Kansas. He really is that good.
What makes him special?
Well, he's a really quiet kid. Yes or no, sir. I've talked with him a couple times in the past. He's really strong. He's really low to the ground. And he's just, his sophomore year, he averaged 8 yards a carry, 500-plus yards on the ground. Jaron Kanak, obviously, was their star. Last year, he had, 1,600 yards, but he still was getting the ball 10, 14 times a game. And then this year, he's become the horse. And Coach Crow was so impressed that he goes, Malik, it's hot, it's week 1. Junction City's tackling him a lot, but he's just getting second, third efforts. And I know he cramped up some. I think he even vomited at one point. But he's just so strong. I mean, he is your classic high school prototypical tailback. And he's going to get the ball probably 30 times tonight. Okay.
What impresses you about Great Bend the most?
Well, several things, and the broad thing I want to say is, and I talked with Coach Beck about this, and could tell that it kind of maybe struck a chord with him. And he goes, a couple of years ago we were obviously down, but the sense was that everybody kind of knew that they were going to be down. But stay the course and allow a couple of years ago those sophomores, now seniors, to play. And know that the freshmen and the sophomore classes that we currently have are coming. So just the overall tide of how Great Bend has managed the last couple of years has been really, really impressive, quite honestly, and not something that we all know that every team in Kansas would have done. So I want to say that. But what Matthew Johnson has done, Coach Beck could not say enough good things about Johnson and Kern. That downhill linebacking core plays with just a ferocity. Johnson is sixth in Kansas right now in tackles. I thought that Minton was really good, especially in the second half. Obviously, he's got his really good receivers that he's played together for a long time. But the way that they play defense, to hold McPherson down, was just really impressive. They had not beaten McPherson since 2006. I'm pulling it up here. Last year, McPherson, 376 yards, almost 8 yards of play. Last Friday, 3.5 yards of play, and 217 total yards. That is a massive, massive difference. And I know the accolades come for Great Bend than for offense, but their defense is much improved.
I love talking to Connor Nickel, Sunflower Sports Solutions, S3 as we love to call it, because he doesn't beat around the bush. He'll tell you what he thinks. So who wins tonight, Connor?
I've got Hayes High +4. And I think that, but really honestly, this is I've told people this, even this morning. I said, this is a matchup to just simply enjoy. If this game is in Great Bend, I may give Great Bend the edge. I think that the two main things I'm going to take away from is which offensive line is going to be better. Now, Coach Beck said after week one, we've got to improve up front. His High's offensive line was really, really good. And that's going to be the different is ground acquisition tonight and turnover margin. I know it sounds really simple. I don't think that Hayes High's quarterback, Carter Graham's a good kid. I think that Daxton Minton's better. I think Daxton Minton will probably have a better game. But in the end, can Hayes High control the clock? Can they force turnovers? If those two things happen, Hayes High should win. On the Great Bend side, if they can complete several long passes, and if Minton can play really well, Great Bend probably wins. But I went with 24-20 in Hayes High, but this should be a really good game.
I concur. Just enjoy this one tonight. What else are you looking for in our area tonight?
Well, the really cool thing is the Ellenwood Eagles have
indeed.
a really good chance to win and be 2-0 for the first time since 1998. Wrote about this morning. I guess under the radar teams that could be 2-0 after tonight, and Ellenwood got an impressive win against Syracuse, which has struggled, but hey, it's still a nice win. And they face a Douglas team that's kind of going through some growing pains right now. It's cool. All four Barton County teams won in week one. I've also got, we talked about upsets. Central Plains, watch out for them tonight against Maxville. Could be the upset there. Maxville, of course, without Ryan Kuckelman, the Gomez kid, is really good. But that could be a under-the-radar upset pick tonight, Steve-O.
Okay, I'm going to – it's Mike Marzoff, Great Bend Tribune, at the mic, picked that same thing, so I guess he must be a subscriber to S3 because the biggest upset last week was Kinsley. You called it, my friend. Great pick. And now Victoria, 0-1, goes to La Crosse tonight. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. You know, if I'm the Knights, you know, you walk away like, you know, we lost on basically a scoop and score touchdown. We only allowed 240 yards of total offense. We did a lot of things that generally win games. Defensively, they were really strong, but Victoria is very young and inexperienced in that secondary, and Coach Webster likes to pass the ball a lot. Lacrosse, you know, Otis Bison is obviously way down. They did kind of win last week. I think that Victoria's physicality is maybe the difference today, but credit to Kinsley. People have asked me, well, is this more about Victoria or Kinsley? I said, this is all about Kinsley. I said, Victoria is still number 5 and 8-man 2. They've got a lot of really good pieces. This shows the improvement of Kinsley, and I think they're going to be a strong contender.
Okay, Connor, let's go back to that Maxville game, too. What do you like about Central Plains?
Well, I like, you know, for them to score as much as they did. You know, Blaine Hickles there. They've got a lot of nice pieces back. But, you know, they scored 54 points against Ness City. So they started out 0-5 last year, and they scored, I believe, 45 total points in those 5 games. So the ability to score has really, really popped out. Again, several nice pieces back. I like also, Michael Ryan's on staff now. You know, obviously a great CP former player. He's involved. He's head boys basketball, head tennis. Just having some of those personalities from past CP teams that won state titles, I think, is a really positive thing too.
Yeah, he's my favorite high school player of all time. He was a center in football and a point guard on a state tournament basketball team.
Yep,
I love it.
Right.
I love it. Okay, Connor Nickel, this is good stuff. And Connor, if people haven't jumped on board S3 Sunflower Sports Solutions, how can they get on board?
Yeah, sunflowersportsolutions.com or my Twitter, which is at CNICHOLLHAYS. Is very. I love being on here every single week. After the show last Friday, I looked down and somebody had signed up. I also want to throw out our sponsor, BP CleanRight. They've done a great job sponsoring us. They provide apparel all throughout North and Central Kansas. And the other thing, too, is they are sponsoring a boy and girl athlete of the week. And we highlighted 2 cross-country runners earlier in the week, and that will be an award that we're going to give out every week, regardless of sport, too.
I love it. Okay, we're going to get to volleyball when we come back here. It's Sports Day with Connor Nickel, brought to you in part by Equity Bank, adding value for their customers and communities. Equity Bank in Great Bend, Hoyston, and Larned. See the locations tab at equitybank.com for more locations. And Eller Automotive Repair, a local mechanic that can help. They're located behind Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source. We'll be back with Connor Nickel right after this.
Venture Corporation is a homegrown company with almost 50 years of experience in asphalt, paving, and construction, and they need equipment operators, mechanics, and CDL drivers. Venture offers many benefits, including 401k and Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. Call Leslie for all the details. Work for a family-owned and family-oriented company that is here today and will be here in the future. Venture Corporation, South Highway 281, Great Bend, is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey everyone, this is Cole Ryan, voice of the Barton Cougars. Attending sporting events for Barton Community College is great, but did you know you can support the athletic teams even further by getting involved with the Cougar Booster Club? The Boosters help with fundraising for equipment and facility upgrades to give Barton athletes every opportunity to keep succeeding at the regional and national levels. Join the Cougar Booster Club as an individual or business. Call 620-792-9377. Become a booster today. Go Cougars.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Zach Strite, commercial lender for Equity Bank. As someone who lives here, I know many of you, and I know what's important to you. I've been in the industry a long time, and I've helped many navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people. I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you our commitment to serving you and our communities. At Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
Sports Day is presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department. Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
Connor Nichols, Sunflower Sports Solutions, S3 here with us. Got so many comments about how much people appreciate your insight into area volleyball, and you've got some golden nuggets again this week, Connor Nichols.
Yeah, we mentioned this in the preseason, but Coach Maxwell for Ellenwood made significant upgrades to their early season schedule. Last year they only lost 4 times. They actually started out 0-2 this year, but faced the defending 2A state champion, Hillsboro, and lost in a great 5-set match. Ellenwood came back and then lost to Beloit in 2, but Beloit is either going to be ranked number 1 or number 2 in 3A. Since then, they've won 4 straight. They will go to the Ellsworth tournament on Saturday, which they're certainly favored to win, but it's going to be interesting to see them face some teams that are not ranked in the top 5. What's really nice is some of the players, Moore in particular, who Coach Maxwell really wanted to have step up, have really performed at a really high rate. Kennedy Benke is putting together a really solid season, but she's not their leading hitter, which is something that you want to see. When you have other players step up as well too. St. John, a team that we had highlighted in the preseason as a potential breakout team, they beat Hoisington the other night. A really nice win for St. John. The Reed girl is 6'2", matchup problem. Fisher's back. Coach Wade is a really great coach, and again, I think St. John is a legit contender. Some overall just notes across Kansas. One huge result: Clearwater beat Andale. And that ended Andale's longest regular season winning streak for all classes in Kansas. Of course, that'll be 4A West here, and a lot of people have said, well, Andale, and it's Andale, and it's everyone else. And I don't really think so, especially after Clearwater won that. This is a major tournament weekend for a lot of teams, and at this point, teams have played anywhere from 4 to 9 matches. A lot of teams play Saturday. I think we're going to get a lot more clarity after Saturday where certain teams stand. One team right now that I think is really interesting is Hayes High is 3-5, but their losses are to teams that are 10-1, 9-2, 9-0. You just kind of go down this list, and they've faced some just really brutal teams. I think overall the WAC again is going to be really solid. We're going to get a clearer picture of the WAC after Saturday for sure. But right now, what Ellenwood has done through 6 matches, a lot of positive things there.
Great Bend off to a 4-0 start. They haven't lost a set yet. They go to Riley County this week, and they'll run into some good teams. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Lady Panthers do this weekend at Riley County.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. Great Bend is on the low end as far as matches played. They are a team I'm very going to keep a very close eye on this weekend. The top 6 teams, if you include Great Bend in that group, and 5A right now, have all not lost. Andover Central is 9-0. May South is 8-0. Great Bend is 4-0. And then St. James Academy, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Seaman, all further eastern schools, have all not lost. That's like a combined 30-35 and zip. So, that was something I really thought coming in. The upper crust in 5A, and I include Great Bend there, is really, really good. And if Great Bend, can get this weekend with 3, 4, even 5 wins, that would really put them definitely in the top 10. But yeah, Great Bend is a team very much in the crosshairs for Saturday. Shelley Duvall does a really good job. They're generally shorter than most teams, but you've got a lot of talent. Sadie Spray among that grouping. I really like her depth a lot, and we'll see how things go here.
Okay, kudos to a Hoisington High School graduate who played at Fort Hays State. Sarah Nuss doing some good things at Victoria.
Yeah, Coach Nuss was, she and I are actually the same age. Her daughter and my daughter are about 6 months apart. I've gotten to know Coach Nuss very well. She actually coached at Hays High for a brief bit, but at Victoria, just got career win number 200, has really made the Knights into a consistent contender. Before she took over, Victoria had not made state since 1991, and that was something they were just trying to get to state. And 1 year they had a really good team. They got upset in sub-state, and then she has a Final Four finish now and has also another state appearance too. They are very young this year. Two of their sophomores I had on my potential breakout player list, but Coach Nuss, has made Victoria into a consistent volleyball winner, and especially at a small school, that's really hard to do. I want to give her kudos because she coaches a lot of the youth teams, in not only Hays, but just the surrounding area too. Very well liked, very well respected in Hays, and has done a really good job.
Okay, you cover everything with Sunflower Sports Solutions. Anything on your radar for cross country so far?
Yeah, cross country thus far, Great Bend Panthers have looked just extraordinarily good. I mean, they have really. I mean, Coach Lashley, of course, does a fantastic job. Really interesting to see how that goes. A really interesting thing here is who will be the next 2A girl runner. Chesney Peterson, a legend in Kansas, of course, graduated. She went to Tennessee, and she won her first collegiate cross-country race. This is how good she was historically. But you've got four or five girls right now who are kind of in that mix. So a Bunsey girl, Avery Boydsing from Ellis, and then Sterling. Sterling's got a couple of girls too. So it's going to be very interesting to see where 2A girls kind of goes. I think it's obviously going to be the most competitive at the top that it's been in years. So that's something early on I've just kind of been seeing times and seeing where things rank. A lot of people next Thursday will run at the Hays meet, including multiple WAC schools. So we'll get kind of a good test there.
Want more? Well, Sunflower Sports Solutions, S3. Again, Connor, how do people subscribe?
Certainly, yeah. SunflowerSportsSolutions.com. There's a couple of subscribe buttons there. We're also on all social media platforms as well, too. Every day we have new people sign up. That's been a really consistent trend. Again, I really appreciate everyone's support. I'll be at Great Bend and Hays High tonight. People can also stop by and say hi, too.
Connor, we'll talk to you next week. Have a fabulous weekend.
That's certainly, Steve-O. Thanks again.
You bet. The one and only Connor Nickel. And again, you get somebody out there that's doing all this work to cover high school sports in our area. Yeah, subscribe. You can enjoy his social media texts and things like that. Go subscribe. You can get it at a finger's tip, at your fingertips right there. Appreciate Connor Nickel being with us here on Friday on Sports Day. Sports Day brought to you in part by Next Tech Wireless. Experience wireless built by Kansans for Kansas, and advanced therapy and sports medicine. Get your life back. More Sports Day coming up. Aaron Clark will be talking to the head coach of the Hays High Indians, Tony Crow. Stay with us here on the mighty 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
Management Studios, 1590 KVGB, Great Bend, and 95.5 FM K238CK, Hoisington.
When it comes to car maintenance, it's good to know a local guy that can get things done. The Eller family has been in the auto repair business in Great Bend forever. Greg Eller continues that long tradition of helping people. Eller Automotive Repair specializes in wheel alignments, oil changes, and general maintenance for all makes and models of cars and small trucks. Open 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4 Fridays. Eller Automotive Repair at 915 Morton, right behind Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source, 10th and Morton.
At Next Tech Wireless, it's wireless on your terms. You pick a 36, 24, or 18-month agreement and get a device on us like the iPhone 14 or the new Google Pixel 7. Stuck in a contract with your current provider? Switch now and get up to $1,000 per line. For more details, stop by your nearest Next Tech Wireless location today or call or text our customer care team at 877-621-2600. Next Tech Wireless, home on the range.
Barton Community College helped me get a jump start on college with early college opportunities. With Barton's help, I earned my degree at the same time I graduated from high school. You can take classes on campus, online, and even at your high school with teachers you already know. With tuition rates starting at $50 per credit hour for select Kansas high school audiences and scholarship opportunities, it is easier than ever. Barton Community College helped me get one step closer to my dream, and it can help you too. Learn more at highschool.bartoncccc.edu.
And welcome back into Sports Day here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Aaron Clark here, sitting down with head coach of the Hayes High Indians, Tony Crow. Now, Coach, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. It's Great Bend week, Great Bend versus Hayes. A lot of emotions there. How's the vibe in the locker room this week?
Oh, it's good, Clark. I mean, it's first of all, my main man, Aaron Clark. How you doing, brother? And I think it's good to talk to you, man. And I'm proud of you. Awesome what you're doing. And the vibe is good, man. It's it's nice to have coming off week one. You never know what it's going to look like, especially off an emotional win like we had. You're always worried about a letdown, but when you got a rival coming, it's the guys are up and they're ready to go.
And so now, obviously, I'm thrilled to be talking to you, Coach. One of the more excited interviews I had on the schedule for this year. Not only just to talk, obviously, the past we have together, but you got quite the team coming back this year. Obviously, I believe you lost around 12 all-WAC players. How do you even come back from losing that much talent in 1 year?
Well, we're not sure. We're still trying to figure it out, Clark. We just, we've plugged some kids in that we're not sure if they're ready to play. They're probably too young and too underdeveloped to be ready to play, but they, after a small sample size, one game, they stepped up and we've got a couple kids in the upper classes that are, that have a little bit of experience, but yeah, we lost our whole defense and we didn't have a guy coming back that really made a meaningful tackle last year. And so we were pretty worried about that, but and I think it's still going to be a work in progress. I don't think it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows like it was the other night. But we're still trying to figure all that out.
Obviously, you have some history of being able to take some talent that may not be presenting itself clearly and build a quality program. Over the past 5 seasons, you've built an incredible record at Hayes, culminating in last year's 10-2 record. How do some of the returning players, mainly, we're going to get into talking about him a little bit later, but Malik Baugh, coming off of another very good night against Junction City, what should we expect to see from Mr. Baugh this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of turned the corner in being a leader, being a tough runner instead of just a pretty runner. He's been everybody's little brother in this program for the last 2-3 years. And even though he doesn't look like it, he looks like a full-grown man. He's just had the role of being the freshman or sophomore or junior, on a team full of upperclassmen that he really didn't have to lead. But now he's being forced into a leadership role, and he's having to take that to help push this team forward. And I think the big thing with him was just, he showed the other night that he can be a workhorse, which he's never really shown before. He's shown that he can get 10, 12, 15, maybe 18 carries, but he's never shown what he did the other night. 40 carries is just unheard of. I don't know that I've ever had a back coaching, to carry the ball 40 times. So I think that went a long way with his leadership and just showing he could be a workhorse and leader as well.
And I'll tell you what, that stat line from last Friday night, I think it was 40 carries, 220 yards for 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good stat line for anybody. Was that the plan going into the game, or did it just kind of the game plan roll that way?
No, I mean, we didn't plan to give it to him 40 times. We thought we might have to give it to him 25 or 30. We just weren't. We were struggling in some other facets of the game, some other phases, and we dropped a couple touchdown passes. We dropped a couple balls that, that I think would have changed that. We didn't plan on giving it to him that much, but again, we knew and he knew that there might be a chance we'd have to. And I think a lot of these games, especially early on, until the other guys develop, we're going to have to count on them a lot. So, 40 for 220. Normally if you have 40 rushes in high school, it's probably going to be even more yards than that, but that's what was crazy about it, is not many of them. I don't know if he had a rush over 20 yards. I mean, it was just work, and he kept getting hit 3 or 4 times every play, and he just kept going.
Really pounded it on the ground there, and that kind of brings me to my next player I wanted to talk about. Not a ton of returners for your team this year. However, you do have Henry Fitzum coming back on the offensive line. I believe he was a second-team All-WAC center last year. Tell me a little bit about what Fitzum brings up front for in the trenches.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to go to next. I'm glad you went there. Is our offensive line, Aaron, is just it's just really the kind of the glue that keeps us going there on the offensive side. We got the 3 seniors in the middle, starting with Henry at center and Will Lindenberger at guard and Caden Bunger at guard, and those 3 have all had a lot of experience playing. Henry more than the other 2, but the other 2 have played a ton and were starters last year, and so those guys have kind of held us together and kind of been a leader, for this group. It kind of reminds me of a offensive line we had back in Great Bend back in the days. We had some older guys, some mature guys in the middle, and
some young tackles.
We had 2 young giant tackles. One of them being you on the edge, and so it's kind of the same thing. We've got this leadership in the middle, and we've got these 2 hosses and a big tight end and wing on the edges that are younger, and just kind of the glue holding it all together.
And so Aaron Clark sitting down here with the head coach of the Hayes High Indians, Tony Crow. Coach, flipping over to the other side of the ball, your defense lost some talent on that side of the ball. Looks like you have a decent little bit back this year, though. Can you tell me a little bit about what to expect from the Hayes defense?
Yeah, it's kind of a no-name group, and that's kind of what we've called them. It's kind of the no-name D, because really nobody knows much about them. Slade Salmons has gotten a little bit of press, but I think a lot of that too is just because people knew his brother's name and the Salmons name's kind of ringing there. But he's pretty dang impressive on the defensive line, and he's a force. He's a force in there for sure. And then really it's a bunch of guys, that just haven't been on the field much at all, that are trying to come out and make their name. And they flew around as a unit last week and made a lot of plays. We messed a lot of stuff up. And I think if Junction City maybe would have, honed in on their game plan a little bit and exposed our weaknesses, I think it may have looked a little different. But man, we did a great job of playing with energy and playing tough and flying to the ball, and that's what we were most impressed with. There was a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball, but our young defense, we were worried about those mistakes. But 3 turnovers was really what set it apart, and our defense came up with those, and so it was an impressive opener for a bunch of guys that really haven't been on the field much.
Couple impressive nights from some young defensive backs, Cooper Lindenmeyer and Dalton Myers. Believe Lindenmeyer there had 2 interceptions, Myers 6 tackles for a loss and 1 interception. Is there more an emphasis on trying to get after the ball this year for Hayes High, or was those 3 interceptions just the right place, the right time?
Yeah, all 3 interceptions are really kind of, they were kind of, quarterback was under pressure and just kind of threw them up. And the DBs were in the right spots, and Cooper and Dalton did a great job of that. But it was, a little bit of uncertainty early on by Junction City and what they wanted to do. And so I expect that, the Great Bend's going to do a better job of putting the ball in the air quicker and less risky. And so it's going to be tougher to get our hands on it. But, Dalton blitzing off the edge and making all his tackles for loss was just, something we needed throughout the game, because they were running the ball on us, and he just went flying in there like his bloodline, knows how to do. And he went in there and made a bunch of tackles, and he's a dang good wrestler and shot a bunch of double legs and took a bunch of people down. So it was pretty impressive.
All right, so Coach, getting close to the end of our interview here, what are your final thoughts heading into game week against Great Bend, a team that you do have, and Hayes in general has a lot of history with? What are your final thoughts heading in against Great Bend? Well,
a lot of respect. I mean, Coach Beck and myself and our staff, we know each other really well. And, of course, my history in Great Bend. Just a lot of respect for what they've done, turning it around and winning 8 out of the last 9. And, we know that we've got a hot team that we're facing that's done a really good job of putting things together and has a no-die attitude. I mean, they keep getting behind and keep coming up and winning. So it's a team that's on the rise. We know for sure. A lot of young kids. We are extremely young, Clark, and I think that Great Bend's younger than we are. And so, we know that we're going to get, the best punch, and we know that we're going to have to be ready for it. And I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight. I don't know. I think it's pretty even. We won 9 out of the last 10, and so we're pretty hot as well. And so it's 2 programs, I think, right now that expect to win every time they step on the field, and you add a rivalry to that, and it just makes it all the more fun. So it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and I'm not sure there's going to be a loser, but it's going to be a heck of a game out there on Friday night.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing you, Coach. That is head coach of the Hayes High Indians, Tony Crow. Thanks for joining me today, Coach.
Aaron, I'm proud of you, brother. Keep doing your thing.
We'll have more Sports Day right after this.
Smart stays on the road. That's why it's in your engine. Cenex Maxtron synthetic diesel engine oils give you the smartest oil for the toughest conditions. These premium oils maintain 80% of their viscosity throughout the drain interval for superior engine performance across extreme temperatures. That horizon looks good with the competition behind you. Cenex Maxtron diesel engine oils. Oil that runs smart.
Contact American Plains Co-op Fuel Department in Great Bend, your certified Cenex distributor today.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Sean Powelson, president of your local Equity Bank. As someone who lives here, I know many of you, and I know what's important to you. I've been in the industry a long time, and I've helped many navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people, so I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you our commitment to serving you and our communities. Because at Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
If you need physical therapy, consider Advanced Therapy in Great Bend and Progressive Therapy in Larned and Hayes.
We had a lady that was having some severe back and hip pain, and we worked with her for about 6 to 7 weeks, and we were able to actually restore greater than 80% of her mobility, and we were able to keep her from actually needing that surgery for about 4 years.
You don't need to hurt. Physical therapy can help. Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
It's Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department.
Oh, man, what a show today. Connor Nickel coming on, and I got to talk to my former head coach, Tony Crow, before tonight's matchup with Great Bend and Hayes. I want to take this opportunity at the end of the show to remind everyone that Sports Day is brought to you in part by the American Plains Co-op Fuel Bulk Department, your certified Cenex lubricant dealer in Great Bend, the Venture Corporation, reminding you to help a neighbor and shop local when you can, Marmy's, the Marmy's Auto Group on 10th Street in Great Bend, and by Equity Bank. Here when you need us, bank local, save big with in-person banking and business banking. Visit equitybank.com for more information. Equity Bank in Great Bend, Hoisington, and Larned. Hesh, we've got pretty good Friday night, leading into a nice college football tomorrow, lead into the first NFL Sunday of the year. Barely able to contain my excitement.
Football fans are going nuts, right? I can tell your excitement.
It's the longest time of the year has finally come to an end. Looking forward to getting to watch some terrific matchups tomorrow. Kicking it off at 11 a.m. You can watch Kansas State against Troy or Colorado versus Nebraska if you want to see Deion's squad. And then in the evening, looking forward to Texas versus Alabama. Some current Big 12 versus SEC. In the future, that'll just be an SEC matchup. Maybe both teams can just lose in that one. Should be a good matchup, though, and tune in on Friday here on Sports Day as we'll recap all the sports news over the weekend. Thanks. Catch us on Friday.